What's up, everybody? This is Chris Surratt bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps you with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of all your vehicles. On this weekend review show, we're going to check out some more job loss for the U.S. as it comes to building new factories. We're going to talk about the GM and Stellantis and how they're affecting Michigan and Michigan's amount of people that are working in those factories. And last but not least, we're going to visit Shawn Fain as he gives his DNC speech at the DNC convention. First up, I want to talk about a lot of job loss, okay? We talk a lot on this show about layoffs and factory closings. We talked last week about the Norvolt moving its facility over to Sweden. We talked about BYD building a factory over in Mexico. Now we find that Volvo is doing pretty much the same. And my thing is that we're just losing too many jobs here in the U.S. So let's check this out real quick, and we'll talk about it more after we read this quick story. All right, of course, we go to our favorite automotive news. Volvo Trucks picks Monterrey for $700 million Mexico assembly plant. Volvo AB said in April that it aimed to build a plant in Mexico to supply the group's Volvo Trucks and Mack Trucks businesses in the U.S. and Canada. And this is from Friday, August 23rd. And first I want to say that I found this story because I live in a little place called Seaside, California, which is right by Monterey, California. So when I first saw this story, I was hoping it was saying that Volvo was building a plant here in California in Monterey, but I was vaguely disappointed. Let's read this story. Sweden's Volvo Truck has picked Monterrey in northern Mexico as a site for its new North American heavy-duty truck factory and expects construction to cost $700 million, it said on Friday. Volvo had announced in April that it aimed to build a plant in Mexico to supply the group's Volvo Trucks and Mack Truck businesses in the U.S. and Canada, as well as Mack Trucks in Mexico and Latin America. Monterrey provides significant logistical efficiencies for supporting sales to the southwestern and western regions of the U.S. and to Mexico and Latin America, its statement said. The company, which has targeted growth in North America as a strategic priority, expects the plant to start operations in 2026. Volvo Truck, also known as Volvo AB, is not affiliated with Sweden's Volvo Cars, which is owned by China's Jiangli Geely Holding Group. I didn't know that. Oh, wow, okay. That was a quick story. So, why is this important? Now, and I don't know if anybody paid attention to when Anton Daniels broke down the whole NAFTA situation and everything like that, but my problem with this story is that we're just losing too many jobs here in America. It's just too many factories are laying off people because of the UAW situation, is because of lost market share for these American automotive groups. And we continue to see that other automotive groups are making major strides in building factories, but they're not building them here in the U.S. And that's a problem for me. I believe that if we know that these, specifically Volvo, we know that they're going to have a big input in the U.S., and for them to be building their plant over in Mexico, denying the ability for the U.S. worker to work in these plants, or to even think to build a plant here in the U.S. where the majority of their vehicles will be driven, specifically the Mack trucks and the Volvo trucks, it seems to me like a major shortfall in the American government, as in trying to get more opportunity here in America. I went on a big spiel about BYD and they're building their factory over in Mexico, and they are doing it because it's so close to the U.S. They know that eventually, with all of the 100% tariffs and all the other things that the U.S. is trying to put in place to stop them from, producing and selling their EV vehicles here in America, they know that that's going to come to a stop. They know that we know that they already have a footprint here in America already, and it's not going to be hard for them to get over the guidelines and tariffs that have been put in place for them to stop them from, selling their cars over here. I suspect that BYD probably will have in the next 2 years at least 1 or 2 dealerships here in the United States. But we're losing out on the opportunity for these same automakers to have facilities here which allow us as a U.S. worker to make money off of these businesses that are making money off of us. Definitely Volvo is going to be selling a lot of cars to the U.S. A lot of U.S. People are going to be driving their vehicles, but those vehicles are going to be made over in Mexico, not giving U.S. people the opportunity to make money off of the production of these vehicles. And that is a problem for me. I think that if we're going to be a consumer, we have to be a producer. It helps. It helps because we've lost so many jobs that it's hurting us so badly. America is struggling so much. I hear all these political pundits saying that, the Biden has brought all these jobs, and I just don't see them. I see jobs leaving us weekly. Every week I talk about layoffs at this factory, at that factory, at this company, at that company, closing down. I don't see anybody replacing these jobs. Where are these other jobs coming from? Where are they? I don't see them. Let's keep going. So, I'm going to throw this in here real quick. I didn't really wasn't going to talk about this, but let's talk about this real quickly. UAW workers rally outside Stellantis truck plant, blast CEO. The union has threatened to strike the automaker for failing to meet its commitment to reopen the idle Belvedere plant by 2027. Stellantis says the union can't legally strike. And this is from Friday, August 23rd by Michael Martinez. Detroit. A UAW leader in charge of the Stellantis department on Friday called for Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares to step down and said he did not buy the company's argument that plans to postpone the reopening of Belvedere assembly in Illinois were allowed under the terms of their national contract. I think he either needs to go or get someone close by him to work side by side with him to manage the company, because I don't think he knows what he's doing. Kevin Gotsky, Kevin Gotsky, director of UAW Stellantis department, told reporters after a union rally here. Gotsky comments echo UAW President Shawn Fain, who attacked Tavares in an August 16 video saying it's time for a change, and that starts with the man at the top. The union has blasted the CEO's handling of recent layoffs and has threatened to strike the automaker for failing to meet its commitment to reopen the idle Belvedere plant by 2027. Stellantis has acknowledged plans to postpone the reopening, but said the union agreed to language allowing it to do so. In a memo sent to Stellantis employees obtained by Automotive News, the company cited letter 311 in the national contract, which says product investment and employment levels are contingent upon plant performance, changes in market conditions, and consumer demand continue to generate sustainable and profitable volumes for all the U.S. manufacturing facilities described above. The company in the memo told employees that a strike would be illegal and it would challenge such action through all available legal avenues. Gotsky on Friday said the UAW did not believe that was accurate. We've been meeting for months over these situations and never once have they spoken about market conditions at all, Gotsky told reporters. There are situations where obviously we can have conversations about making changes in investment, but it's never been discussed. How can Tavares give himself a raise if there's conditions that they say our contract expires in May 2028 and they're trying to push it back to the fourth quarter of 2028, so they're trying to get out of the commitment entirely? Leaders at the rally accused Tavares of not showing up to Sterling Heights assembly plant after originally saying he would. Michael Spencer, president of UAW, Local 1700, which represents workers there, said he received a last-minute invite to meet with Tavares, but as of Friday afternoon had not heard back on details. A Stellantis spokesperson in a statement said the progress review took place as planned. Without y'all. We thank the Starling Heights Assembly Plant team for the significant progress that has been made over the past few months. Tavares was spotted by an Automotive News reporter Thursday evening speaking at a restaurant in suburban Detroit with Stellantis chairman John Ecknell. Goskiny said he first officially heard of the Belvedere postponement when he took over as director at the end of May, after Fain removed Vice President Rich Boyer from overseeing the automaker as an act that is being investigated by the union's federal monitor because it was shiesty. Despite the escalating tensions, Gotinsky said both sides were still talking. There's communication, he said. They know where we're coming from loud and clear, but the leader at the top has something else in mind. Unfortunately, we're going to try and get him to do what's right. Okay. So, guys, this is more and more evidence that Stellantis is just a corporate raider and it is going to take apart the Chrysler so bad that it's like you guys forgot what corporate raiders were and how they affected the world back in the day, how they would come in and take fairly profitable companies and just tear them down bit by bit. Happened to Sears, happened to so many companies over the years, and that is what Stellantis is. And I hate that the big three and Chrysler and all these Jeep and all these guys are finding this out at the very last moment, but they literally say here that, hey, if we'll open this plant up and give you all these more jobs if the market conditions change, which means if your market share gets better and you start selling more cars and things of that nature, contingent upon plant performance, changes in market conditions, and consumer demand continue to generate sustainable and profitable volumes for all of U.S. manufacturing facilities described above, which means y'all have to come up. Y'all come up, we're going to open up the availability of your plant, we're going to give y'all more jobs, we're going to do this, do that. It's a lie. It's a bold-faced lie. They don't care what y'all do. They going to bide their times, wait till the fourth quarter of 2028 or whatever they said on this thing, and they going to cut these places to pieces. They going to sell Chrysler to BYD. They going to keep Jeep because, excuse me, because Jeep is always going to be a money maker and they're always going to be able to make money off of Jeep. They're going to get rid of Chrysler. I have been spewing this evidence of Stellantis being a corporate raider and a company that takes these companies and doesn't care nothing about them, doesn't care nothing about building them up and making them successful. All they care about is the bottom line. And the bottom line is, hey, we're going to make a lot more money if we sell Chrysler over to BYD, which will allow BYD to come on, slide on up into the U.S. and start selling all their EV vehicles and then take what? More market share from the automotive dealers that are here in the U.S. It's crazy, man. How y'all not see this? How y'all not see this, the play in Stellantis and what they've been doing? Even with the big UAW situation. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. It all ties in together. It all ties in together. Of course, automotive news, you know how we love it. Stellantis GM slash headcount in Michigan, but keep state incentives. Stellantis employed 38,913 people in Michigan, a 70% year-over-year drop. GM's Michigan headcount of 50,316 at the start of 2024 represents a 9% decline. This is from August 22nd, written by Kurt Nagel. Chrysler parent Stellantis and General Motors are slashing headcount in Michigan, even as state officials hand out hefty incentives intended to grow and retain automotive jobs. GM's announcement this week of 1,000 white-collar layoffs, including 634 at its Global Technical Center near Detroit and Warren, comes on the heels of Stellantis saying it will cut up to 2,450 jobs at its Warren truck assembly plant. Those are just the automaker's latest actions to shrink their workforces in Michigan. At the start of the year, Stellantis employed 38,913 people in the state, a 7% year-over-year drop according to data submitted to Cranes. GM's Michigan headcount of 50,316 at the start of 2024 represents a 9% decline from 2023. The recently announced reductions are not the first wave job cuts in Michigan this year for either automaker. GM previously said it would cut 1,314 jobs in Orion Township and Lansing starting in January, while Stellantis previously announced up to 2,450 workers would be laid off at Mack Assembly in Detroit starting in February. The company later said the number of workers impacted was lower but declined to provide a figure. Stellantis has also cut local engineers and tech employees, and it offered a voluntary separation program across divisions for its U.S. salaried workforce. This is bad. The eliminations reflect the challenges of each automaker. Stellantis, which makes Chrysler, Ram, Jeep, and Dodge products, has seen large sales declines in the U.S., prompting it to dial back production as it undergoes aggressive cost cutting. GM, which has faltered in its electrification strategy and is grappling with software problems on its new pickups, pinned the latest job losses to an attempt to streamline software operations. Lies. Ford Motor Company certainly is not without challenges, announcing Wednesday they will dramatically rework its EV plans in a $1.9 billion shift, scrapping plans for a three-row SUV and delaying production of its next-generation electric pickup. The automaker is unique among the Detroit Three in that its Michigan headcount increased 11% year over year to 50,000, the company told Cranes in July. Ford did not pinpoint a reason for the growth. A time of uncertainty. In general, there is a massive uncertainty hanging over the automotive industry and the traditional domestic automakers in particular, said Merrick Masters, a business professor specialized in labor at Wayne State University in Detroit. That uncertainty is augmented in Michigan, whose economic engine is tied to the Detroit Three. Auto companies are in a period of massive technological change in the industry due to electrification and autonomous vehicles, Masters said. These disruptive changes are occurring at a time when the economic markets are uneven. Mass layoffs are common in the automotive industry, known for its cyclical nature. But Detroit automakers fresh into a UAW contract with record labor costs are racing to develop affordable EVs as overall new vehicle demand wanes. That could signal more downsizing, Masters said. GM and Stellantis offered statements in July affirming their commitments to Michigan. Stellantis has made its home in Michigan for more than 100 years, with manufacturing facilities, parts distribution centers, and proving grounds located across the state, as well as the Auburn Hills complex. Michigan continues to play a critical role in the company's global operations, spokeswoman Jody Tenson said in an email to Cranes. GM pointed to its status as one of the state's top employers, as well as its recent announcement of a new headquarters in the Hudson Detroit development in downtown Detroit. We continue to invest across the state, GM spokesman Kevin Kelly said in an email. We have 38 facilities in Michigan, including our Global Technical Center in Warren, Milford Proving Grounds, and our headquarters in the city of Detroit. As for its headcount increase, Ford indicated that change is par for the course when it comes to a seismic shift in the industry. Numbers in individual functions can go up and down over time for a variety of reasons, particularly in a period where we're remaking Ford amid a technology-led double transformation of our industry, spokesman Ian Thibodeau said in an email. Incentives. The recent job cuts by Stellantis and GMs are not likely to impact incentives, which Michigan tends to award more generously than competing states. Economic development officials say deals are dictated by job creation metrics, but rarely do automaker layoffs or downsizing result in a clawing back of funds. That's weird. In 2019, FCA, now Stellantis, announced its plan to invest $4.5 billion in Michigan including a $1.5 billion retooling of Warren truck and $1.6 billion to overhaul truck Mack assembly. The project was approved with some $400 million worth of incentives by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. So Michigan gave it $400 million worth of incentives, but they're cutting jobs. At Warren Truck, decided the most recent planned job cuts. The SESA tax exemption hinged not on jobs, but on an investment threshold, which the company met. MEDC spokesman Otis McKinley said. Cranes also inquired about the Mack assembly layoffs and potential impact incentives. Okay. All right. So, does that look like we're getting or growing or having more jobs available to us? Detroit used to be one of the richest cities in the world. I remember when I was young, Detroit was it. It was a place to be because, of course, I always speak about this, but my grandmother was the president of the UAW. I have family in Kalamazoo and Flint. Spent a lot of time in Michigan. It was always it was thriving for a long time, and then it became really aggressive and hellholders to a point, I guess, when too much money came into play, and then when they start losing jobs, because when places lose jobs, crime starts flooding in, drugs take over because of the destituteness of the people when they lose their jobs, specifically if they lose jobs that were well-paying and stuff like that. So, but Detroit used to be the richest city in the world, and Michigan used to be an iconic place of factory work. If you lived anywhere in the Midwest and you were, lost your job at a factory, you'd head over to Michigan. And then a lot of people from Michigan started heading over to Indiana. It was a weird time. But what we're talking about is a steady and continuous loss of jobs for our people. And I'm not talking about black jobs. I'm just talking about jobs, period. So many, week after week after week, I talk about the layoffs at these factories in Michigan and all over the place. And now we're talking about, companies who are building factories, but they're not building them here. So we're not getting those opportunities. What are we going to do? Move to Mexico? I'm telling you, some people are going to do it. There's going to be a lot of people, eventually, this keeps going the way it is, with BYD having a factory over in Mexico, Volvo having a factory over in Mexico. How long will it be before people are flying over to Mexico to work because they can't get jobs here? It's not unlikely. I've read stories about people who fly in every week to California to go to school because they can't afford to live here. It's not that much different. And if we don't do something that's going to start attracting these companies to bring these factories here, so us Americans have these jobs specifically for these people who are losing all of these jobs. Look, all these people that have lost their jobs in Michigan, where are they working at? Did they find another factory job? Did they pay the same amount? Probably paid less, didn't they? Are they working at McDonald's, trying to go back to school? Go back to school for what? This is a hard time for the middle class. Hard time for people who got factory jobs probably when they were young or are young, and now they're losing those jobs and they're getting thrown out into the workforce with no sustainable knowledge about doing anything other than working on the line. It's not good, and it's getting worse. It's the best time to, my only advice would be that if you have at one of these jobs and you seeing this coming down the pipeline, because these people are seeing these people working these factories, they got to see it. They got to hear the rumblings. They got to hear the people talking. If you see it or feel it, go back to school, man. Start looking for another job outside of the factory industry, outside of the automotive industry. As much as I hate it, I hate to say it. The automotive industry is hurting so bad. So many people are killing the automotive industry. So let's check out one of those cats that are killing the automotive industry right now. So, last but not least, we watched a good percentage of the DNC convention, the Democratic National Convention. Pretty interesting stuff, you know. Pretty much the same rhetoric, same talking points. For us at the Car Concierge Show, we concentrate on how it affects the automotive industry. So, of course, we're going to as quickly as we can, we're going to review our man Shawn Fain as he gives his speech at the DNC convention. And then we're going to review it.
UAW Shawn Fain, here to support Vice President Kamala Harris.
All right. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Good evening, America, and good evening to the people that make this world move, the working class. On behalf of 1 million active and retired members of the UAW, I am honored to support Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to be our next president and vice president. And I want to say thank you to Joe Biden for making history by walking the picket line with the UAW.
First off, we know for a fact that the UAW didn't jump right in and start supporting Kamala Harris after Biden stepped down. We know this man, Shawn Fain, was reluctant at first because, I don't know, maybe he just wasn't feeling Kamala as much as he was feeling Joe, but let's keep going.
For the UAW and for working class people everywhere, this election comes down to one question. Which side are you on?
That's a horrible question.
On one side, we have Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who have stood shoulder to shoulder with the working class.
Lies.
On the other side, we have Trump and Vance. Two lapdogs for the billionaire class who only serve themselves. So for us in the labor movement, it's real simple. Kamala Harris is one of us. She's a fighter for the working class.
When did she fight for the working class? Kamala Harris was known for mostly about throwing, when she was working out here in California, was throwing the working class in jail for minor things and then holding back information to make sure that they stayed in jail or prison. Now, mind you, they were criminals, and I have no escape about, punishing criminals, but there are situations where they weren't criminals, and she made sure that they still got prosecuted and thrown in jail. So let's keep going. I'm going to try to stop doing that.
And Donald Trump is a scab.
Scab, and how many though?
That's not just my opinion. opinion. That's a fact. All we have to do is look at the track record. When Donald Trump was president, corporate America ran wild. Donald Trump did not bring back the auto industry. When Donald Trump was president, auto plants closed. Trump did nothing. Trump told workers in Lordstown, Ohio, that he would be bringing all the auto jobs back. And Trump did nothing. In 2019, General Motor workers went on strike for 40 days for good jobs and a better life. And Trump did nothing. Talk.
All right. Oh, man. So, I understand that this is kind of what they have to do when they do these speeches, and that, you know, they have to skate the truth as best they possible. But what I will say is that if Trump did nothing, because I remember a lot of prosperity and a lot of opportunity when Trump was in office. I remember, I mean, to be totally honest with you, it was a great time for me when he first got into office. It was bad for me when COVID hit, though. Don't give me the line. COVID was really bad for me, so that was a bad time for me. But I saw great progress when he first became president. When it came into the automotive industry, yeah, I mean, Hyundai was booming. He was making a lot of good money. So I don't know what this cat is talking about. What I do know is that if Trump didn't save the automotive industry back then, and Harris is in office now, what is she doing to save it now? Because I'm telling y'all, this cat right here pretty much destroyed the automotive industry with this UAW deal by forcing the big three to shell out more financially to their employees, to the point where other employees have to lose their jobs. That's what it did. That's the bottom line tax of the whole situation, is that, you know, the contract that he issued in for the UAW was massive and great for employees, and you know, gave them better wages and all these great things. But as we foresee, after that occurred, massive layoffs have happened, because if for the UAW contract to work, for it to work, what would have happened? What would have had to happen would be that the minute that they put all of these rules in place that raised, you know, their wages and raised the opportunities for these employees, when that occurred, see, you would have had to have great growth in the companies that you were doing this for, because they would have needed that growth financially to pay for all these incentives that was added because of this UAW contract. And there hasn't been any growth. There has only been negative actions. There's only been losses. There's only been loss of market share. It's only been downhill from there. Let's keep going.
It's cheap. But in 2019, you know who was on the picket line standing shoulder to shoulder with auto workers? I'll give you a clue. Her initials are Kamala Harris. In 2023, who helped bring jobs back to Lordstown, Ohio? Kamala Harris. And in 2024, who will stand with the working class in our fight for justice? Kamala Harris. And that's the difference. Donald Trump is all talk, and Kamala Harris walks the walk. In the words of the great American poet, Nellie, it's getting hot in here.
Come on, bruh. Nelly, ad hominems. Come on, who win this whole DNC convention? All I've heard is rhetoric and ad hominems and shots at Trump. When they gonna start talking about politics and policy and what we can do to stop the bleeding when it comes to all the automotive industry and the factories in Michigan? Jesus.
It's hot in here. It's hot in here because you're fired up and you're fed up, and the American working class is fired up and fed up.
Wouldn't that mean they fired up and fed up for what's going on right now? Wouldn't that mean that they would be fired up and fed up with stuff that's going on under the Biden-Harris administration and not the Trump administration, because Trump was way before? Wouldn't that mean that all the stuff that people are having problems with come from the Biden and Harris administration?
American working class is in a fight for our lives. And if you don't believe me, just last night, blue-collar workers, the UAW members at Cornell University had to walk out on strike for a better life because they're fighting corporate greed. And our only...
If it happened last night, that means it happened during the Harris and Biden administration. How are you going to put that on Trump? Let's see.
Hope is to attack corporate greed head on. Corporate greed turns blue-collar blood, sweat, and tears into Wall Street stock buybacks and CEO jackpots. It causes inflation. It hurts workers. It hurts consumers, and it hurts America. And corporate greed is alive and well in the auto industry.
Okay.
You know, last fall, we achieved life-changing gains in our strike at the Big Three. We even won a commitment to reopen a closed plant not too far from here. We were able to do that thanks to the support of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and the thousands of auto workers that went.
We just read a story where these fools is fighting with Stellantis about this open plant that Stellantis hasn't opened up. Not only has Stellantis not opened it up, Stellantis said that it ain't gonna open it up unless you meet certain parameters that were in the contract that y'all haven't met and y'all not gonna be able to meet. Plant's not gonna open, player. You off the oh my God.
On strike. But a year later, one company wants to go back on their commitments in our contract. And let me be clear, Stellantis must keep the promises they made to America in our union contract.
Nope. Stellantis is a corporate raider. Stellantis has put it in their contracts to the point where they know for a fact that you will never meet the demands that were in that contract, to the point where they have to honor any of the stuff that they told you that they do. They know for a fact that the plant will not perform better. They know that the market conditions won't get better. They know that you will not be able to meet those goals that are required for them to be forced to do these things. You are hit.
And the UAW will take whatever action necessary at Stellantis or any other corporation to stand up and hold corporate America accountable.
Stellantis has millions and millions more attorneys than you. Stellantis is prepared, and they have contract writers that have set it up to the point where you guys have already lost this fight. Watch and see.
And when the UAW stands up, we know who stands with us and who stands against us. Donald Trump laughs about firing workers who go on strike. And Kamala Harris stands shoulder to shoulder with workers when they're on strike. And that's the difference between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump the scab. Trump is pushing divide and conquer tactics of the rich. It's the oldest trick in the book. They want to blame the frustrations of working class people. They want to take those frustrations, they want to blame it on race. They want to blame it on LGBTQ plus people. They want to blame it on some destitute, desperate person at the border. They do that because they want working class people to be divided and to focus and keep the focus off the one true enemy, corporate greed. The rich think we're stupid, but working class Americans see this for what it is. This is our generation's defining moment. So I have a question for you. Are you ready to stand up, speak up, and show up and put Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in the White House?
No.
We need a defender of the working class in the White House. Someone who is one of us and someone who knows how to fight. And that fighter is the next President of the United States, Kamala Harris. Thank you.
Shawn Fain, President.
All right. Okay. And that, my friends, was Shawn Fain, president of the UAW, speaking at the Democratic National Convention. And saying a lot of nothing. Nothing worth anything. We know that as it comes to the automotive industry, we know that when Biden was still running, he was running on a plate of, trying to assist the big three and the U.S. American automakers. The 100% tariff situation really was created by Trump, but they latched onto it and they were going to run with it. Once Biden stepped down and Miss Harris took over as the future president, as it were, for the Democratic Party, at first the UAW wasn't sure about it. Wasn't sure. They probably still aren't sure, but they needed to back somebody right away. They needed to get somebody in their corner right away. And Shawn Fain, who by most metrics, people were pretty sure that Biden was going to hold him position in his cabinet, help him along those lines. That is the way Shawn Fain's career looks like it's going. But of course, he's dealing with some corruption situations as well when it comes to UAW and letting go of Rich Boyer and all of these type of things. So his future is up in the air as well. So he had to go about getting somebody to back him as well, specifically in the UAW, because he, like everybody else sees, there are major problems when it comes to the UAW contract. There's major problems when it comes to the contract as it goes to Stellantis. They've already been striking about this and about that. So all the strides that Shawn Fain made when it came to the UAW contract situation with the big three, he's lost because there's been massive layoffs, massive fights within the UAW structure, and massive moves by the automotive industry that are just hurting everybody. So he's hurting. Cute speech though. Tried to stay on top of it, tried to back the Democratic people, Harris and Harris and Walz. We're just gonna have to wait and see. Me personally, I've only seen negative things in the automotive industry, specifically since the UAW contract situation. And when, of course, there's some positive situations happen, I'm gonna bring it to you. But for now, you're gonna get this negative stuff every week when it comes to this auto. All right, let's get up out of here. I'm your boy, Chris Surratt. It's a pleasure as always. We're going to go back to our regular scheduled channel after our little trip, vacation / fun time. And I'm out of here. You guys enjoy your Sunday. Peace.